Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Markiplier. Welcome to the chat. Welcome Divinity Dust, and also me, Munchy Monk. And welcome anyone that joins in on the YouTube channel. Hi Munchy. Hello Sir Dumpling. And hello everyone joining in on the TikTok. Like you, Netflix. Ow, I just cracked my elbow. And you, Stomach Jimbo. Thank you so much, that one girl, for the sub. 26 months. I appreciate that so much. We have our first sub goal on the Twitch because I just found out that you can make those. But welcome, guys. Nico says hi, Louis. Hello, Nico. I hope I'm not getting sick. Happy partner anniversary. Thank you, Syria. Technically, I'm not a partner because that's a different thing on Twitch. I'm an affiliate, but a partner is for... We'll get there soon. At this rate. Hello, guys. Dr. Pepper is going bankrupt. What? Don't tell me that. I will literally invest all of my money into Dr. Pepper to help it to stay afloat. Okay. We have we have a progressives versus moderates middle ground. Guys, I know I said that I hate doing the Jubilee stuff, and I didn't want to do any of the rage baiting, like more of this Democrat versus Republicans, because that's just a bunch of rage baiting stuff. But I am curious to see what the progressives versus moderates middle ground will be. Democrats, moderate versus woke. Right off the bat, I hate it. I hate the framing of it. I hate everything about it. Am I playing Infinity Nikki today? Jess, if I get too mad, maybe I'll have to abort mission and go back to playing Infinity Nikki for a little bit and do a quick 10 pull because I know the new banners are out. But right off the bat, Democrats, I'm not liking the framing. We have moderates versus woke Nikki. Moderate versus woke Democrats. Am I playing Nikki Andy from the YouTube? I'm not right now unless I get too triggered and I feel the need to get off and start playing Nikki. Moderate versus woke. Right off the bat, progressives means woke. That's what that means. And I'm not someone who think woke means bad, but I know that Jubilee knows that a majority of the people thinks woke means bad and extremist. PS Vita music is my childhood. I know, right? Fruitger Arrow. But let's get into it. Stop. And I'm here to let you guys know right now, I'm not very biased when it comes to if I think people should be more progressive or should be more woke. I mean, people should be more moderate or more progressive, aka woke. I'm not biased. I just think that if you're a moderate, there is no purpose in you having political discourse at all. If you're not a progressive, if you're not woke, I don't FW you. Let's just say that. I had to block Jubilee. It drives me insane how people act on there sometimes. Curly Coffee, I completely agree. It's completely rage baity, but I do want to see what progressives versus moderate is to them. Sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. In the We Would Trust. Thank you, Froggy. Let's hold hands really quick and promise not to get too triggered and stuff. And I promise to try not to pause the video every 3 seconds for 4 minutes. I promise.
In a time when we are almost fighting Satan, and Satan being Trump, you know, I'd rather...
Right off the bat, yeah, he's right.
The dog catcher be president of the United States over Donald Trump.
I would rather a rock with googly eyes be the president over Donald Trump.
That's the super pretty girl that was like, ew, his smile is creepy. I'm triggered. I'm right there with you, guy.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. The far left made us lose the election.
I get so sick of Democrats. The far left made us lose the election. You better not step forward. You better not take one step forward.
I did have a lot of people agree.
Ooh.
Oh! They're lying already. The moderates in the pregame interview said that they think that far lefts cost the election, but they're lying now. You're lying. Doing real great with the pausing. Sorry, guys. I promised.
Show yourself.
Okay.
Step up.
I get so sick of Democrats. I get so sick of Democrats. I get so sick of Democrat. You liars. You don't even have a spine. You don't even have the spine to say it.
Okay. It's a kind of a big accusation to say that they made us lose the election.
It is. That's why it's wrong. Cause it's wrong. Cause it's a way too big of an accusation. Thank you, Zagreus. Zagreus! Thank you for the follow. Based Hades reference.
I think there are elements on the far left that contributed to like a sort of an optics that made us look a little bit more extreme than we actually were.
Thank you, Oni Rignina. Sorry, I'm gonna pause it every 3 seconds. No, made us look a little more extreme than we actually were. Literally, their only like demand was please stop bombing people. Literally, that was like their only deal breaker, and they could not give that. They couldn't even give that up. Please just stop bombing people. That was their only thing. They just kind of made us look a little more extreme than we are. What's more extreme than that? What's more extreme than we refuse to stop bombing?
So in that way...
What are we watching, Shaquille? These are moderates versus progressive Democrats. AKA libs. Liberal. Liberals that just want to uphold the status quo versus people that actually want progress. Thank you, Sixkeys, for the follow. Thank you so much for the follows, guys.
Yeah, of course there was a little bit of contribution there. Was it the sole reason why? Of course not, no.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nuanced if you looked at it as like a pie graph.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nuanced, but I think that the far left made us lose the election. Someone on here said, what are they debating? It's a middle ground between liberals versus leftists, basically. Someone on here said, they didn't say it, but they were like, it's always been true. Being a leftist is just being right too early. And by that they meant correct. Being a leftist is just being correct too early. And I'm like, oh my god, if that is not the truest thing that's ever been said.
70% is because of the far left agenda. I think there's just
hey man, you're kind of based. Thank you, 69. I thought they were the same, TBH. Unknown man 004. A lot of people think that they're the same before you actually like do a little bit of research. A liberal is the most tiny bare minimum you can be besides being a conservative or a Republican. A liberal is someone who just wants a Democrat to win, and they don't actually care what the Democrat stands for at all, because they don't actually want any progress. A leftist actually wants leftist policy change to be implemented. Liberals don't care at all as long as a Democrat is in charge.
Americans that are too close to the center, and you know, I don't have issues per se with what is considered the far left agenda, but the big issue is if it's costing us national elections and the House of Representatives and the Senate and the Supreme.
And it's not, is the thing. It's literally not costing you elections or Senate or anything, because if every person who voted third party independent or whatever voted for Kamala Harris, thank you for the follow, Weesna. If they all voted for Kamala Harris, she still would have lost. I don't understand how that's not being understood.
Supreme Court and the White House.
And it's sorry. I'll stop pausing. Some
adjustments.
Yeah.
I really think that optics are important because I don't know how it is for everyone, but personally.
That's the thing. A liberal is someone who only cares about optics. If liberals win, if liberals get everything their way, nothing gets done still, because all they care about is optics and not anything actually getting done. And it's their fault for nothing actually happening. Thank you, Saba, for the sunglasses. It's their fault for nothing happening because when they are in charge and they win everything, all they care about is optics. They don't actually want anything to get done.
Personally, when I would go on my TikTok or like any social media, I would see a lot of like Kamala HQ videos and a lot of things from like the Democratic Party, and it was giving a lot of like far left ideology, like viewpoints, and the way it kind of portrayed.
Kamala HQ was giving far left ideology. Sorry. This is the first of many pauses. I get triggered very easily, guys. Sorry, I'm gonna pause 7,000 million billion more times. I apologize. Where's that clip of Patrick going, let me see. Boom, boom, boom. That's me.
Let's check in on Squidward again. Psst. Squidward, just remember, poo. Patrick, if I could make a suggestion, why don't you just order a Krabby Patty? Great idea, Squidward. One Krabby Patty, please. Is that for here or to go?
I think Kamala HQ showed very leftist viewpoints.
Hang in there,
Did
Squidward.
you hear my sternum crack? Kamala HQ.
I would see a lot of like Kamala HQ videos and a lot of things from like the Democratic Party, and it was giving a lot of like far left ideology, like viewpoints. And
Far left ideology viewpoints. Kamala HQ was giving far left ideology and viewpoints. The page that was just like, yeah, Trump, he's orange. Oh yeah, well, this guy wants to hands off my body. Yes, I'll give you that. That is leftist. That's like the most bare bones leftist policy to advocate for. Kamala HQ was not, let's make housing a human right and make it so everyone has guaranteed housing. Let's not make it so everyone has access to healthcare. Let's not make it so the public transport is pushed over the car lobbies in America. None of that. But let's have a trending audio. Ugh! I'm like,
way it kind of portrayed itself, and it is good.
Brat Summer coconuts. Yeah.
Like support and stuff, but it also, I feel like, isolates those who do care about other issues such as the economy and other things like that. It turns people off because I think at the end of the day we have to acknowledge that like there is a stereotype when it comes to the Democratic Party, and it's unfortunate, but when people see things that align with that stereotype, it ultimately kind of hits us back a bit. Not to say that there's not stereotypes everywhere.
Kamala literally tried to appeal to the Trump base at their entire campaign. Yeah, they were isolating people because they were too leftist. Kamala base. We brought Liz Cheney here to talk about how we're so great.
But like,
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, what we're saying is that it's not that we disagree with a lot of the things that the far left believes in. It's so much more of the way it's communicated. And
Bipolar bear, it's
and I think
leftist
we
versus
see it
liberals.
in extremism in any capacity with regards to any issue.
Oh my god, I'm sorry, I pause every time. Extremist. Leftist extremist. Extremist! There's so many memes that I see on Twitter every single time, but a far-right extremist is literally like, we are genetically superior, get rid of others. A far-left extremist is, everyone should have a house and food. Everyone should have access to healthcare and housing and food and an education. Oh my god, how extreme! Don't be extreme, you're gonna isolate people!
But obviously for us, I think it affects us more because it's like, well, gosh.
The difference between leftists and liberals is the spine, yeah.
I mean, I do agree with you in so many ways, but the way you're doing it is making us look so bad, and it's turning, like you said, a lot of people that are more in the center away.
I actually believe that a lot of moderate Republicans actually held their nose and voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just so like, we cannot go this far left. You know, we almost, since he's the only real viable option on the right.
I get so sick of Democrats. Oh, I don't want to go that far left. She literally, yeah, Izukip, Kamala Harris literally said she was going to be tougher on the border than Trump. Why would progressives vote for that, and why would conservatives vote for her when they could just vote for Trump? Oh my god!
We have to go with him.
So many of them that I've spoken to, they see Trump as being moderate.
You talk to that. You talk to so many. You talk to so many Trump supporters. You talk to so many conservatives. Well, there's your problem.
Which is really
I mean, that's
interesting.
wild,
I mean,
yeah.
and they defend it, but it's like, again, it's the optics, and whether it's true or not. But if that's what people are perceiving it, if they're like, whoa, the left has gone so far left that Trump seems like the moderate candidate, then there's definitely an issue there.
These people they can't be for real. They cannot be for real.
think needs
They
to be
cannot be
addressed.
for real.
Can you guys be specific about the agenda?
Right.
Yes.
So I would say items that I feel compromise the far.
He's gonna say trans. Immediately, I know it. I know he's thinking about it right now, but he doesn't want to look like a bigot. Look at him. You could tell by the look on his face.
Left agenda would be like transgender.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you immediately? Immediately, trans. We gotta give them up, guys. We gotta give a little bit of leeway. Let some people be marginalized. How about that? I knew it. I knew he was gonna say it. And also, Kamala Harris, when she's asked about protecting trans rights on 2020, she's like, I think, let's just do whatever the law says. Whatever. We'll see when it gets to it. That's so far left.
Gender rights, and I say that, please don't think that I'm saying there doesn't need to be acknowledgement.
That is what you're saying. 100%. That's the difference between a leftist and a liberal. A liberal, that is what you're saying. We don't have to acknowledge trans rights. It's just like, you don't have to acknowledge that all people deserve rights, because that's icky to some people.
Of any person, wherever they're at, whether it's LGBTQ+, transgender, minorities, whatever. I believe we all
See guys, I'm a minority, so that gives me the authority to say that maybe we don't have to. Literally, that's what he's saying.
Human rights. But if your agenda is to focus on one group of people that kind of compromise, I think something less than 2% of the population, and you're neglecting something huge, I think you were the one that said, like, the economy, you're not going to get many people.
Yeah, because Kamala Harris neglected the economy. She neglected the economy. The difference is that Kamala Harris speaks like an adult, and Americans don't understand that. Donald Trump says no words that are bigger than 3 letters long. He's like, economy, I'm gonna make it big, 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 and we're gonna win, win, win. And Americans only understand that, so that's what they vote for. And they think that means good.
To go
bigly, yeah. We're gonna win, 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 bigly, bigly. Thank you for the
feel
rose.
Like the Democratic
Thank you for
Party
the heart
is
me
like, we're
rose.
going to hit all of these left ideals. We're going to hit about trans rights. We're going to hit about women's rights. We're going to hit about all of this. And that's what kind of led things to the back burner. And the problem is when you do hit certain demographics, like you do want to send a message out to all women, you kind of forget the fact that, like, not all women want abortion, right?
Sure, yeah.
And by having that emphasis on, like, these pinpoint issues, you really do neglect the majority.
Yeah. And I mean, the exit polls showed that the 2 biggest issues Americans, on the whole, all Americans cared most about was the economy and immigration.
Right.
And like,
Bipolar Bear said, liberals put he, him in their bio, and then said death threats to they, them.
the percentage that cared about things like abortion and race relations, like, they were on the map, but they were so small in comparison to these bigger issues. I would say that I do hesitate to call it a left-wing agenda, because it sounds kind of sinister when you say that, and the right-wing agenda, and it's almost like they're trying to infiltrate and control everything, and therefore they're bad, and we must destroy them. I
just want to talk about the optics of this person saying that people don't actually care about race.
I like that terminology, but as far as what I think, if we had to call it an agenda, what we see happening on the left is that they're really set on putting everything in terms of race and sex and sexual orientation, and it causes a lot of
Johansson,
division,
this is,
and again, I'm not saying that that's their intention.
This
I'm
is
not saying
liberals
that's their
versus
agenda.
leftists.
I'm not saying that they've written it out
Middle
like
ground.
this is what we're gonna do. Optically, that's how it looks. That's how people are interpreting it, and it wasn't very unifying for a lot of Americans. It wasn't the most important thing to a lot of Americans when we had things like immigration and the economy, that it was affecting everybody, and that everybody.
Except it literally doesn't. It literally does not affect everybody. It literally does not. It's just it's bigotry. The biggest states that, like, throw a hissy fit and whine about immigration, they're all like in the Midwest. None of them are border states. California. I'm done.
Everybody really
I'm done.
cared about.
And now, can the disagree a step forward?
Yeah, I heard the word of the day was optics, optics, optics. And it's interesting to me, just a quick survey. Does anybody think that Biden is a far left president?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And if you look on Fox News, you look on any right-wing media, they're labeling him as a socialist. So the optics of like Kamala was too far left or she was going too much into progressive values, no matter who it is, the candidate's going to be labeled this crazy far left extremist.
Yes.
So the optics, I think, are a little bit weird to be prioritizing how the right views Democratic candidates
Literally.
instead of what those Democratic candidates actually stand for.
Literally, he's completely right.
And to me, when
It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
About the far left is discounting economic issues. That's really the only thing the far left was talking about, or people who were on the progressive side.
It doesn't matter what they want to be perceived as. Any candidate that is not a far right conservative, they're just gonna call them a radical Marxist communist, radical leftist Marxist communist, leftist Leninist Stalinist communist. That's all they do is just call them that. They'll call Joe Biden that. It's obviously not true, but they just hurl all of those insults because they have no idea what the political compass even looks like, and they'll just say all of that, and their supporters just eat it up.
We want to see student loans be more forgiven. We want to see some sort of
like the priest. Yeah, like the priest. That priest is like a radical leftist, because the priest at Donald Trump's inauguration said, hey, can you like show mercy and kindness to the most vulnerable people in society? Oh, she's a radical Marxist, leftist, communist.
Situation to the increasing rent. We want to see.
I don't really get into politics, but this is interesting. Johansel Sanchez, thank you so much for tuning in on the YouTube. It is interesting.
Like these California
Gambit Gamble, thank you for the follow.
Other disasters across the country.
Yeah, building on that really quickly, a really illuminating moment for me personally was, I think it was like a week before the election or something. Kamala was being interviewed by somebody, and she was asked if she thought trans healthcare was like a human right, you know, and she was, like you're saying, supposedly the progressive candidate. That's
she wouldn't even say it.
A lot of the conservative
she wouldn't even say yes.
And, you know, she sort of waffled back and forth, and eventually she ended up saying, well, it should be up to the states. It should be up to the states, right? And that's why it's interesting for me to hear that you guys thought it was, you know, lean too left when
making a reaction video to your live stream.
You know, didn't vote for Trump as a result of that, but were
hi,
like,
YouTube.
Okay, Kamala clearly doesn't
My
have
name is
my
Munchie, and I'm
interests at
awesome.
heart as a trans person, you know what I mean? And wow,
being
yeah,
kind is
somebody
communist.
said that is
Danimal, being kind is communist, but that's the thing. That's the thing. I know, like, you're saying that as in, like, conservatives and right-wingers say anyone that is kind is communist. That's the thing. It is what they say, but also, being kind is communist. Being kind is communist. They use communist as, like, this buzzword to be like, oh, it's evil. Being kind literally is communist. Being communist is literally, it's literally, like, more of a base part of the ideology of communism than capitalism. Because in capitalist societies, if someone is starving to death, well, he didn't work hard enough. But in communism, there's someone starving to death, oh my god, let's get this guy food. How is that? How is being kind something that falls more under capitalism?
small demographic. It's still a demographic I think worth paying attention to.
I think a culture.
Fellas, is caring about my community making me a communist? Bipolar Bears? Yes! Yes, it is! It is! Any program that's about, like, providing food or shelter to vulnerable people in your community, that is that is socialist. That's not capitalist inherently.
Is real, and we did not start that.
Hey,
the
yo.
left did not start that. With advocacy, the right created a culture war in order to focus on these issues that are marginal. They are putting the focus on these issues, not the left.
Not gonna lie, I'm not sure
Trump ran
whether to
an
watch
ad
this on
that said
YouTube or
Kamala
Twitch.
is for them,
Dozy,
like playing on the whole
whichever one you want.
gender,
I don't know how the
non-binary,
ads work.
transgender.
There's for sure more
rights
people on
thing,
Twitch.
right?
There are more
If we
people on
keep
Twitch
playing
if you
into
guys
these
want to be
culture war
part of, like,
issues,
the
it'll
community.
just
But I
lose
appreciate
elections
wherever you watch.
because what Kamala did is go towards the right in order to fight against this label of radical, right? And in general, that's just not going to work because you already have someone who's so far right in Donald Trump. She's never going to get elected running on a moderate campaign. You need to create enemies when you're in politics, and that's just the truth. We are the enemies of the right, and unfortunately, they have to be our enemies because that's how politics works.
But we don't have to be the enemies of
Too much ads
the
on
people.
Twitch. The first second joining.
That's who's putting the commander-in-chief in office.
I want to build on that because I don't blame the far left because for me it was about immigration, it was about inflation, and I don't think the far left took us in a wrong direction on that. But I think we didn't draw the line on things. So like with immigration, none of us support illegal immigration. Not a single person.
I do. I do. Come here. Oh my God, none of us support immigration. I do. I guarantee if you're in like a border state, I guarantee you your life is made better. Bruh. Thank you, Bench I Am, for the follow. I guarantee that there's at least like 10 illegal immigrants that you interact with on a day-to-day basis. They like work at a place that you shop at or cook in a place that you eat at. I guarantee that your life is made better by them, but you just hate them for no reason.
On the far left, far right, anybody, but we never made that position clear. It's more about we need to draw the line on some things, or the right will define it for
or work with you, yeah, or they're your co-workers
for us. We'll be playing defense the whole time.
I do think it's a very fair point to say that we are constantly playing defense and just responding to their ideas instead of creating our own. But I do think it's interesting. I would say most of us agree that Kamala was pretty moderate.
There's for sure more.
And yet she lost
Abby,
the election.
based on YouTube.
But you still say that 70% of the election being lost is because of progressives when we weren't even running a candidate. Kamala's not a progressive.
She's not.
Republicans often will blame transgender people and blame these small minority groups and vilify them and us. And I see you kind of accepting that framework by blaming transgender people and progressive ideas.
Sorry. Cindy Brown says, illegal immigration has not affected my life at all. School have.
Is for the loss of this election when it was a moderate that lost.
So not in terms of the Democratic Party itself. Maybe they don't.
Immediately no. Not in terms of the Democratic Party itself. Immediately no. What are you going to say?
Have a far left agenda. But do you think that there is a cultural far left agenda that might have turned people away from the Democratic Party?
I think agenda might be the wrong.
I think if that's what turned you away from the Democratic Party, you were never going to vote for the Democratic Party. You weren't. You were never going to. If you were considering voting for Donald Trump, you were not going to vote for the Democrats. Plain and simple. If you were on the fence, you were going to vote for him. Well, you know, this guy says that we need to build a wall and mass deportation. And I'm like, on that, but they said that they like trans people? I'm gonna go with this guy. Oh, but they said that they didn't say anything about trans people. Okay, I'll vote for them.
Word.
What do you think? Do you think that's how the world works?
I think there might be a cultural sort of movement that is very leftist, extremely leftist at this moment. Yeah, but I also think that movement is sort of a reaction of the last few years, you know, culturally sort of swinging the other way.
We gotta make a new party or overhaul it. Sean Warrington did again. We just have to get rid of the two-party system, and we will never do that as long as there's huge money in politics, and that will never be overridden as long as the people who got in based on huge money are still in.
But yeah,
because there are other parties. There are socialist parties and the Green Party and everything. There's not just the two parties, but unfortunately they're the two biggest ones.
Yeah, I can say that. And now personally, I see this movement and I align myself with it because I see a lot of the things that are being fought for and a lot of the people that are fighting are things I believe in deeply. But sure, no, I absolutely, for the sake of the argument, yeah, I'm sure there are some people who that was a turnoff for. Yeah.
Actually, speaking of agenda, I want to bring up something that you said earlier. You said something along the lines of like, our agenda is
I was
making
11
the rest of
when I
the
realized
party
it was him.
and you look bad. I define my agenda as fighting for women's rights, which
Based.
have been very much heavily under attack.
And based, Dozy.
Roe v. Wade was just like abolished. I define my agenda as increasing economic opportunities for a shrinking middle class. I define my agenda as holding billionaires accountable, because clearly there's an issue with the distribution of wealth in this country. And I think that Trump is a product of this, because people are unhappy and people do need to see a change. The middle class is shrinking and Trump is over here blaming everyone else, when in reality, it's because he continues to give incredible tax breaks to the 0.01%. And I think it's funny that I'm like actively trying to fight for the rights of you and you and you and you, but to you, I'm making you look bad.
So, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I really, like I said, I think we all kind of agreed, it's not what you're fighting for that we take issue with whatsoever. It's how.
Yes, it is. You just said that. You just said that. You just said that.
On the very far left, how they communicate it, that can come across as very combative, very divisive, very tribalistic.
Yeah, people on the left are combative and tribalistic. People on the left are. Not Donald Trump, who literally insults his people on his own parties. He insults them personally and their wives and their mothers and everything. People on the left are combative and tribalistic.
And very hateful towards anyone that doesn't automatically agree with them. Now, what's interesting is that there's clearly a huge division even within the far left and the progressives, right?
Vivian,
it's
like leftists versus liberals.
And the cultural progressives. When you're talking about anything to do with the economy or distribution of wealth, that is more like the economic side of things. And then we have the more cultural side of things, where they're really, really preoccupied with things like race and sex and sexual orientation. Now, those people exist, and I agree that I think that the right, the Republicans, jumped on that and exaggerated massively. And I also agree that the left didn't necessarily try to separate itself from that. They just.
Oh my God. She's saying that the right lies. The right lies about the left and says, oh, they want to put they want to let transgender illegal alien surgeries in prison. The thing that Homelander does in The Boys. And she's saying that the left didn't do enough to say, no, we don't care.
Kind of defended it. You know, they defended it more. They kind of dug their heels in deeper, rather than saying, we don't want to actually focus on that. We want to focus on the economy. We want to focus on distribution of wealth. We want to focus on tax fairness. We want to focus on like school loans. We want to focus on all that, because I think that would be way more unifying.
But you can't focus on one without the other. This country is not just economic and then social. It's socio-economic. An example of when this hasn't worked is when it comes to increasing legislation on welfare and creating welfare breaks. A lot of Republican rhetoric will be around people are career welfare people are just sitting on welfare.
But that's the complete opposite of what happened. That is the complete opposite of what happened.
And they'll use a lot of stereotypes and stigmas that are around the Black community and be able to kind of hijack racism and xenophobia to then in turn create economic policies that don't benefit anyone, because the majority of people on welfare are actually white. So it's not like, so it's not like one and the same, and you can't separate.
It depends on the program. For SNAP benefits, white recipients make up the largest group at 40%. For temporary assistance, 38% are white. This fact check depends on the program. This fact check did not disprove what she said still.
And say, oh, well, people who care about defining civil rights can be in one camp, and people who
never mind.
care about defining economic rights are in another camp. It's one and the same. It's all the same issue.
That really highlights what that division is, though, right? It's not necessarily a left versus right division. It's really a populist versus institutionalist division. Even when we see like recent events with Luigi and people on two different sides that are agreeing that sometimes these actions feel like there's a guttural sense of justice. And we could argue whether or not these things are ethical, but there's clear support amongst right-wing coalitions and left-wing coalitions that I'm getting screwed over by institutions right now. So when you say progressives are trying to like demonize people or not like accept people who don't automatically agree with them, I'd say that's not the case. I think that progressives and people that are on the populist right have a lot more in common
100%.
than people that are institutional.
No, you don't! See, that's why people hate moderates. That's why people hate liberals. Because every time they say anything, they're like, no, I agree. I agree. I agree. You're so right. I just think the opposite, though. I agree, even though that's not what I'm saying at all. I agree with you, even though I've been disagreeing with you the entire time, and I'm going to continue to disagree with you. I get so sick of Democrats. I get so sick of liberals.
I so agree with that, and I want to clarify that the only time the division really comes in is when there's a hard focus on race and sex. That's when it seems to be very, very divisive, because if I try to say...
Bad luck for you, woman.
Anything that's a little bit anti-feminist, even if it's not. It's
bad luck. There we go. And there we go. And there we go. This girl is mad, and she voted for Trump because she's anti-abortion. That's why. And there we go. We've gotten to the core of it. She's mad because people told her that she's not actually Democrat because she is anti-abortion. That's exactly what it is.
It's like, oh my God, you're on the right. You're an anti-feminist.
You are. You are. If you do not support abortion, you're an anti-feminist. You're not. You're not allowed to be. You're not allowed to be like, guys, I'm a feminist and I'm totally for pro and equal rights. Oh, what? You guys are gonna cast me out just because I don't believe in abortion rights and reproductive rights? What? What? I say I'm for equal rights, but you guys are gonna cast me out and say I'm not on your side just because I don't think everyone should be able to vote? Yes! You're not for that! You're not for equal rights then!
It's like, no.
I was just simply gonna say, you guys are not wrong. I don't disagree with anything that you just said in your last
She said on the live that she didn't vote for Trump, but she hates him. Well, I would like to see how she votes for abortion rights.
I think what we need to understand is that word we've been using, agenda, honestly is synonymous with marketing in this particular conversation. Kamala,
that word that you've been saying,
raised more than $1 billion to get her message out there. What was the message? That to me is the problem.
But that's a moderate message. Like, that's on y'all. That wasn't
us. She's right.
I
would agree, because the messaging from the DNC was that she wasn't Trump, which seemed like the same thing they pushed with Hillary, and it was like, I mean, at least that was the progressive perception of the situation, 100%.
I mean, at least we have an agenda. I feel like a lot of the moderate agenda is just like, we're not that, and we don't like that.
I do have issue with this, though, because it's like some progressives separate themselves from moderates and are like, well, that's on you guys. Like, no, we're all on the same team. Like, I feel like a lot of progressives didn't find
No, that's not true. Progressives want all the stuff that moderates want, except they include things like trans people. Except they include the most marginalized people and the biggest problems that common establishment Democrat candidates don't want, like healthcare for everyone and housing for everyone and education for everyone. Moderates don't want that. They don't care about that.
Find a reason to support Kamala.
No, I get that, but he just said that 70%, like, it's 70% progressive ideals fault for losing. I'm just in the context of this conversation.
Hold on, sorry. Someone in the chat. I don't necessarily agree with abortion. I'm not gonna march against it either. I may be against it, but if you want to go have one, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Pen, I don't want to not to lib out and be that one friend that's too woke. Before I would have said that's all that is needed is for you to not. You should be open to anyone who wants one getting one. Usually that's all that's needed is, oh, if you want to have one, then have one. That's up to you. Then good for you. Great. That is the baseline of what is needed. You need to want people to be able to have them. You need to be for people's choice. Unfortunately. If you cannot like it as much as you want, you cannot get one yourself, but you need to want people to be able to have them. At this point.
Said that, you have to understand when I said that, I am in no way, shape, or form attacking the progressive...
Yes, you are!
The progressive agenda. There's that word again, right?
Yes, you are! You literally came up and said it's the reason that you lost.
What I'm saying is that the overwhelming majority of the country can't process what it is that the progressives would like to enact while they're in power.
Well,
that's telling on yourself. You just admitted that you don't actually know what progressives want.
And I fully
YouTube stream
like
went down? Oh, what? YouTube stream went down. YouTube stream went down. I guess you're not allowed to watch